I am so ready for the day when a large, massive, angry, raging mob of women kill these motherfucking men with their bare hands. I'm ready for the day. I'm willing to lead the charge. Okay, ladies? These men can't live in the world that we're building, which is why they need to be tortured, beaten, and destroyed. Destroyed. I also took a self-defense course a couple years ago. And ladies, if a man wants to try you, this is how you fight, okay? This is how you make a fist. Thumb over the fingers, like this. Boom! Boom! Okay, we're not doing this. We're not doing this, okay? Fist. Like this. This is how you fucking punch a motherfucker. Alright?
I really don't think you're supposed to post that, Karen. There are lots of impressionable young adults on TikTok, and it's scary to think they'll just agree with you. You're demanding respect and acceptance while promoting violence at the same time. What the fuck are these fantasies? You really want to torture men. We understand the anger and resentment, but calling for a mob attack and threatening men just for some views makes you an insane person with a criminal mind. Violence is never the answer. And also, I'd give you a 7 out of 10 for your punching form.
Modern feminism is more about hating men than empowering women. You can advocate for female empowerment without being a man-hating Grinch. Just by talking about this fact, other women will call you a pick-me or they'll try to tear you down. Quite ironic, isn't it? It is without denial that there are too many women falling victim to abuse. And it is without denial that in most cases, the male tends to be the abuser. But coming online and painting this image that all men are just pieces of shit is actually completely counterproductive. It doesn't help women get out of situations of abuse. It doesn't help women avoid situations of abuse. What does help women and people in general who are subject to abuse is to set the right example for them. Give them the right advice. Help them identify red flags. Help them be independent people and independent free thinkers. Give people, and women in particular, the confidence to back themselves. But the same females who are all about feminism are the same females that will tear you down if you don't agree with their opinion. It is very possible that these women are contributing to other women's lack of confidence. It's crap because there are so many men out there who absolutely worship women, whether that's their daughter, sister, auntie, niece, partner, girlfriend, wife, whatever. You don't need to empower women by bringing all men down.
It's a superiority complex issue. Women are shamelessly hating men and women for not agreeing to their ideologies. Just think about it. They have to bring all men down just to feel empowered. If your entire movement relies on tearing everyone else to shreds, I don't think you're fighting for equality. You're just demanding submission.
Okay, so one of the reasons why I don't like feminism is because it doesn't serve the average woman. It only serves, the only women that truly can benefit are very wealthy women, okay? Because wealthy women can have it all, okay? They can afford to work, pay for nannies, chefs, the gardener, the dream life, catch flights, go to Paris, go here, go there, sign deals, do whatever. They can afford to do that. But the average woman is stuck, and maybe she'll become a retail manager. Maybe she'll become a principal at a school. You guys are thinking. So, this is why, I kind of jokingly say that feminism is like white lady problems or wealthy white lady problems. It was never designed for the average woman. Average women end up getting fucked because they wait too late to have children, okay? They pursue their career. They get their degrees in degrees that really won't do anything for you, because what are you going to do with a gender studies degree? You know what I mean? You'll study these stupid things in school, rack up on debt, you pursue your career, you end up being an assistant for the rest of your life, and then by the time you're 35, you're struggling in your dating life because you can't focus because you're working. You can't have kids. You might get lucky if you get on IVF if you can afford. Do you know what I mean? And no one's talking about it. No one's talking about it. And I'm like, do you guys not see the correlation of feminism and the birth rate? Not for me. I'll never support it. I'll never support it. The lives that we romanticize in the feminism conversation are not average lives. the reality of a woman being able to work, have kids, have a nanny, do all of that is slim to none. You're not living that life. Most of you are not living that life. Most of you guys don't even have supportive parents that are going to be there to help you take care of your child. You know, like, you're not thinking.
The corporate girl boss fantasy is a luxury only the top 1% can actually afford. Average women swallow the lie, rack up massive debt for useless degrees, and hit the wall at 35 with nothing to show for it but a meaningless title. They sacrifice the chance to build an actual family just to be an underpaid assistant. Men aren't sticking around to bail them out of student loans or fund last-minute fertility treatments. The entire system's a scam, but they'll gladly close their eyes than to admit they were wrong.
Feminism? Oh, the movement that pushes women into hookup culture, puts them on birth control, makes them work for their 20s and 30s for a boss that doesn't care about them? No, thank you.
It is totally okay that you don't want children. It is totally okay that you do not want to depend on a man. It is totally okay that you do not want a family. But what you don't get to do is attack the nuclear family. What you don't get to do is demonize masculinity because you don't know how to be in a copacetic balance and harmony with it. See, all of us that want a family, we understand that societies thrive when there's two healthy parents that can create a healthy masculine and feminine balance in the home. If you are a true feminist, you would be teaching and influencing women to honor their femininity so that they don't feel like masculinity is an attack.
Rejecting a family's one thing, but actively trying to destroy the concept for everyone else is pure toxicity. They attack masculinity because they lack the ability to foster a healthy dynamic with it.
Okay, I'm gonna say something. It's risky. Modern feminism is toxic. Let me repeat. Modern feminism is toxic. It is said that being overly independent is a defense mechanism for being constantly let down. And while for some women this is true, because I have been that woman, the ideology that a woman can do anything a man can do and do it as good as a man is not true. Women are capable of a lot of things, and I love that. I love a good, strong woman. I love being a strong woman. But there are things that my man can do that I cannot do. Or I can do things, but he can do them better or more efficiently. And there are things that I can do that he cannot do or cannot do as efficiently. My personal belief is that men and women are equal because we can both bring strengths to the table that the other cannot. Therefore, we pair them together and are a strong unit. And that's what I love about my man is he knows his strengths, I know mine, and we crush it together.
The entire media machine actively profits from the delusion that men aren't necessary. Corporations fund this narrative because an isolated society is much easier to manipulate. When the power grid fails or the heavy lifting needs doing, all that fierce independence vanishes into thin air. Guys figured out the game, and they're tired of being treated like disposable utilities. You bust your back building the infrastructure of the entire world, and your reward's a target on your back. That's exactly why men pack up their resources and walk away from the table entirely. There's zero incentive to participate in a system that despises your existence while demanding your constant protection.
You want to know something that most women aren't ready to hear? Modern feminism killed chivalry. Modern feminism has shifted from seeking equality to promoting superiority and resentment towards men, framing men as oppressors rather than partners and equals. With the birth of modern feminism, there came the birth of the girl boss, I don't need a man. Chivalry was never meant to make women look weak. It was made to create a culture of mutual respect where men acted honorably towards women and acknowledged their virtue and grace. Modern feminism, by demanding sameness instead of equality, has blurred those lines. In trying to erase gender differences, it's erased the gestures that celebrate them. The result of this is now we have an entire generation of men who are not willing to honor, pursue, or protect women. We have this entire generation of men who just want to hook up on the first date, who have no respect for women, who don't hold open the door, who don't buy flowers, and it is because of modern feminism. Not only that, but it is also a result of weak men. There's a reason that our grandparents have the cutest love stories where the men pursued the women and they didn't have sex until they were married and they respected and honored each other. And now we are seeing the result of the crash and burn of modern feminism. And unfortunately, it is affecting a lot of women looking for life partners and a lot of men looking for life partners. Feminism is great. The idea of feminism is great to promote equality, but it has evolved into something that is toxic and dangerous to our society.
You can't kill the concept of traditional roles and then complain when the door slams in your face. Treating men like oppressors guaranteed the end of chivalry. They demanded equality, so welcome to the equal treatment.
Feminism was one of the worst things that ever happened to women in society in America. Before feminism was coverture, and coverture actually protected women. Coverture was an oppression, it was an obligation that the men carried. Men carried all of the economic and legal liabilities of the household. Coverture actually protected women from harsh punishments like debt, imprisonment, and lawsuits, because it was legally falling on the husband. Women, though, maintained their power through alternative legal channels, like trusts, dowries, and estate settlements. And coverture only applied to married women, so if you were not married as a woman, these did not apply to you. It functioned because it had families be economic units and not just a relationship of roommates. A lot of misconceptions were that women are treated like property, and that is actually false. Women had inheritance rights, dower rights, and couldn't be sold or transferred, and they could also sue. And last I checked, property couldn't sue. Just one more thing, coverture didn't exist because men hated women. It existed because economies were household-based, not individual-based. So it was really about structure, not spite and competition.
Rewriting history to villainize the ultimate sacrifice completely exposes the hypocrisy of the modern era. Guys took on 100% of the financial and legal risk. If the household went bankrupt, the man went to a literal debtor's prison while his family stayed protected. We acted as a human shield against the absolute worst parts of society. The reward for bearing that crushing weight was being branded as dictators. They dismantled the very system keeping them safe, and now they expect men to still act as the financial bailout plan when life gets too hard. You simply can't demand a traditional safety net while actively destroying the man trying to provide it. That's a bad deal for any brother paying attention.
Does anyone else feel like pretty girls run feminism nowadays? Supposedly feminism is about rejecting Eurocentric standardized beauty. And yet, with liberal feminism, there's this embrace of pretty girls can also be feminist, and, very feminine presenting women can also be feminist. But instead of it, what I initially presume it was, an admittance that you don't have to present masculine to be a feminist, now there's this sidelining of any woman who's not hyper feminine in favor of standardly pretty women. And it's almost a faux pas not to dress up like Barbie nowadays. I mean, I can't be the only one thinking this, right? I first recognized this movement in 2020 when I watched The Queen's Gambit. I think it's far from a feminist masterpiece. It's mildly enjoyable. But I noticed that so much of the feminist press around it was not, oh, she's a woman who plays chess, and she is on par with her male opponents. Instead, it was, Anya Taylor-Joy is unapologetically feminine and pretty, and she likes these dresses, and she's feminine. And again, at first, I actually kind of agreed. I thought, yeah, it's kind of interesting now we have this representation of an intellectual, intelligent woman who's obviously very self-actualized, who partakes in stereotypically feminine activities and dresses up and is not afraid to be pretty, I suppose. But now, it's become the blueprint of the ideal feminist. Like, it's not just, oh, I'm a feminist, and that's all I have to be. Now it's, I'm a feminist, and I'm beautiful, and I'm smart, and I'm beautiful. And again, I think that Beth Harmon's character in The Queen's Gambit was supposed to subvert the idea that smart girls are ugly or unappealing to men, which in and of itself is very sexist. But statistically speaking, more women are going to be not like Anya Taylor-Joy than like Anya Taylor-Joy. So who is it really representing? And what's wrong with a woman not being standardly Eurocentrically beautiful anyway? Why do we need to prove that you can be pretty and also be intellectual and also be feminist? Why is there this need to do everything? I know that people have criticized this expectation that women be everything. What about the expectation that women be feminist, intellectual, but also stunningly hot and beautiful and dressing up like a bimbo? Can this unrealistic standard of women just stop, and let's not impose the male gaze upon ourselves, please?
Tradwives and feminism, there's a lot of discourse online. I want to say, do you think it's more dangerous to push being a stay-at-home mom/wife, or do you think it's more dangerous to push S-Work, Bop House, OnlyFans as women empowerment? Because I would argue that the latter is more dangerous. But I also think that when feminism came about, and we are fighting for women's rights, we are fighting for the right to vote, the right to choose, right? The right to get paid the same as a man, the right to divorce if your husband's abusive, all those things. I believe those, and I support those rights. But villainizing a woman because of how she chooses to use her rights is insane to me. If somebody wants to be a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home wife, that's what fulfills them, that's what makes them happy. Who cares? And it's very pessimistic to go on their page and say, you shouldn't do that. He's going to leave you for someone younger. He's going to cheat on you anyways. He's going to do this, whatever. You're pick me. Or that's just what they want. That's what makes them happy. Now, do I believe you should have an identity outside of that? Yes, because I believe if your identity is just I am a wife or I'm a mother, when you're having rocky times, it's going to affect your mental health more than if you have your own identity outside of all of that. But also when you get married, it's not all about you. It's not all about I want a career, so I want to do this, so I'm not doing anything, and it's all my husband. That's not how it works. It's a partnership. It's a covenant. You do things for each other. And when you love someone, you want to do things for your partner. If somebody wants to climb the corporate ladder and they want to hire a nanny, okay. If that's what they want to do, this is what women fought for. They fought for the right to choose. Villainizing somebody for what they choose is crazy. Now, are there bad things? I believe yes. I believe glorifying S-Work, glorifying doing OnlyFans, all that stuff. I do think that is detrimental. I do think that is not okay. I think it's dangerous, especially for young women to see that and want to do that and have it glorified. Just because there are a lot of negative things in that space of work. It's not healthy mentally for the woman. No matter what anyone says, I don't believe it is. And I will never believe that it is healthy and that there are no negative side effects of doing it. There definitely are. And it can be dangerous. There's so many different things. Being a stay-at-home mom, a stay-at-home wife, if that's what you want to do, then good. Do that. And enjoy it. Have it. Make sure you do things that keep your identity outside of just being a wife or a mother. But if that's what you love and that's what fulfills you, then do that. And hopefully you married a spouse who supports that and who loves you. And hopefully you guys have a strong foundation on love and trust and God. Because if you have a strong foundation, your marriage is bound to last. Not all marriages end in divorce. Yes, there are statistics that divorce is definitely a lot higher now. I think that has a lot to do with this grass is greener on the other side, right? Especially with social media. Everyone seems to think the grass is greener. We just saw a woman say that she asked for a divorce from her husband. Why? Well, he's perfect, technically. On paper, he's a great husband, great man, but she just feels like there could be more. She doesn't know who she is. That is a personal thing. That is completely personal. That to me is not a reason to get divorced, but to each their own. But what we fought for is just the right for women to choose what they want to do. Villainizing one way or the other is crazy. Of course, you're going to have people that come on here and they're extreme on the conservative side and they're extreme on the other side, taking away women's rights to vote. They shouldn't vote against their husband. I'm just a secondary vote to my husband. I don't support that, right? I don't support taking away rights that we got given. Pushing doing S work because it's empowerment. I don't support that. But what I do support is that as women, we now have choices. We can make those choices and we have to live with those choices. And that's just that. But this whole discourse, I think, it's stupid. I don't think it makes any sense. And I just think a lot of it comes from deflection, like deflecting, and also just projecting. Yeah, I think that's a better word for it, projecting. I think a lot of it is projection of maybe they saw this not work out, maybe this is how they feel, so they're projecting that onto people online in these parasocial relationships, kind of thing. But that's how I feel about it.
Here's how feminism messed up the US economy and how it's actually now come back to bite modern women in the butt. Let's rewind. The modern feminist movement kicked off in the 1960s. The goal was fair wages, equal opportunities, and legal protection. Great, right? They told us that the first wave gave us the right to vote, and the second wave brought us into the workforce. Here's where it gets a little bit sticky. During the second wave, the message shifted. It wasn't just, you can work outside the home. It became, you should. Or you must if you want to be respected. Doing nothing but staying home and cooking and cleaning and raising children, that was suddenly less than. So women flooded the workforce around this time. They were told they would get more financial freedom, more independence, and of course, more respect. But when millions of women started working full-time, it didn't just change individual families, it changed the entire economy. Suddenly, two incomes weren't just nice, they were expected, and that's where we get into the two-income trap. This is a book written by Elizabeth Warren, who is not exactly a conservative voice, but she actually articulates this situation beautifully in her book, The Two-Income Trap. She argues that when both parents started working, the cost of living adjusted. Homes in good school districts, prices went up. Childcare, through the roof. Everything from health insurance to groceries inflated to match dual income spending power. So now we've created this world where it takes two full-time incomes to just be able to afford the same lifestyle one income covered in 1960. Feminism told women and even sold them the idea that they were breaking free. But for a lot of women, especially moms, it feels more like a trap. Because now the choice to stay home with your kids isn't even on the table for many families. So many women would love to be able to be homemakers and clean the house and cook and take care of their kids, and they can't. Because what used to be a respected and even honored role of homemaker, caregiver, mother got dismissed. Feminism lied to us and told us that success only looked like climbing the corporate ladder and competing with men. But we traded in something priceless: time with our children, peace in our own homes, and even financial flexibility. So while women were told you should do it all, what we ended up with is exhaustion, rising debt, and a system that only works if you're always working outside your house. The very movement that claimed to be liberating women made it nearly impossible to live on one income. And I'm sorry, but that is not empowering. Turns out that there's a real price to pay when a society stops valuing motherhood. When caregiving is treated as invisible labor and homemakers are seen as less than, everybody actually loses, especially women. Not just emotionally or in the family structure, we could talk about that forever, but economically as well. So no, I'm sorry, feminism didn't save women. It told us we need to do it all, and now our generation is paying the price for it.